In the many different Half-Life games, we see several examples of organisms that have been changed from one game to the next. Take a look at this headcrab. Now look at this headcrab. Then look at this one. While these are all the same organism, they remain distinct in their own way, which is great for being able to tell games apart through art style, but it's not so great for biological consistency. Another, more extreme example of this is the Vortigaunt. It went from being a thin, hole-riddled, frail alien in Half-Life 1 to being a much more human-like alien with a less hunch-over body structure, less eyes, and smoother skin in Half-Life 2. Then in Half-Life Alyx, the changes became far greater. Its feet are broken into 3 parts rather than 1 hoof. It has 3 fingers now instead of 2. Its skin complexion is completely different than the last 2, and its posture has very much improved. And it doesn't help that Half-Life Alyx is a prequel, which takes place in between 1 and 2. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. Changes like this are usually to preserve the art style of the game as an isolated being, which I commend. That being said, there are other organisms in Half-Life which we didn't get to see undergo these changes in-game. However, concept art does give us a glimpse into how these organisms would have differed from their previous counterparts. One of the most famous examples of this are the Bullsquids. The Bullsquid is often said to have been what took Eli Vance's leg off. However, when we think of this occurrence, we may often think of the Bullsquid model from the original Half-Life. This is not exactly the case, as the vision for the Bullsquid seems to have been quite different from what was originally presented. In fact, the Bullsquid was actually meant to have 2 variants, the green and red variants. The red variant seems to have adapted to a more semi-aquatic life than the original, with an extra tentacle and a far more aquadynamic shape to more easily traverse wet environments such as the canals. Its red coloration is likely not for any other major purpose in its survival save for something like mating competition. The green variant, on the other hand, is definitely more equipped for an aquatic lifestyle. Interestingly, its eyes were moved to the top of its head, kind of mimicking Earth's crocodiles and alligators, and its tentacles are given a more straightforward position to be even more aquadynamic. Its feet are webbed and its tail is made much longer and thinner for the same purpose. It's really just an overall build to be as effective as possible in amphibious environments. It's really interesting to think about what the Bullsquid could have been, and the same feeling is applied to our next cut organism, the Houndeye. The Houndeye is a very interesting organism in the original Half-Life, with its sonic capabilities and all, but in the next Half-Life game, it was planned for it to be a much more gaunt and skinny organism. The conditions that the Combine invasion brought about would have made the Houndeye a fearsome predator that prowled along the canals. We see that its midsection is extremely reduced in size. Its legs are extremely skinny. Its eyes were going to be far more numerous, and there were going to be small shriveled up hairs sticking out of them. It almost looks dried up in a way, which could point to an aquatic or amphibious quality of the Houndeye. Truly, Half-Life 2's Houndeye would have been a small avenue into how the Combine mutilated countless organisms through their presence alone. However, another organism that would have been torn apart by the Combine in a much more direct way is the Gonarch. As we know, the Gonarch is the mother of all headcrabs, being able to birth baby headcrabs and still put up a serious fight. However, in the eyes of the Combine, every living organism has a useful property, and the birthing of headcrabs was a trait that was ripe for the taking. Thus, the birther was created. The headcrab containment sac was all that was left of the Gonarch after the Combine's modification had run its course. This headcrab birthing pod would have consistently laid standard, fast, and poison headcrabs to attack Gordon in his venture through Ravenholm. Notably, this would have majorly supported the theory of the Combine modifying the headcrabs, as originally, the Gonarch only laid baby standard headcrabs. This organism would have introduced a theory of the Combine modifying the genes of the Gonarch birthing sac itself, thus creating fast and poisonous headcrabs. It's a shame that this organism was cut, as it would have provided greater clarity on the origin of the headcrabs and their change between Half-Life 1 and 2. These have been only a few examples of how we could have seen the organisms of Half-Life introduced into Half-Life 2. And while the preservation of Half-Life 2's artistic vision is truly a great and respectable endeavor, one must imagine what other unconfirmed changes there could have been. Could we have seen an alien controller being hijacked by the Combine in a twist of irony? Could we have seen a successor to the Gargantua adapted to the purposes of the Combine? Could we have even seen the Zen tentacles being relocated and weaponized by the Combine in areas like Ravenholm? All questions which, in all likelihood, will remain unanswered. Which is why it's all the more important to speculate like this. It's important to remember that absolute canonicity does not always come first and foremost in games. When a player plays a game for the first time, they'll generally form their own connections and ideas related to it. This kind of curiosity is something that should always be present when discussing concepts such as beta versions of Half-Life and cut organisms. I also hope that, upon the release of future titles, this kind of affinity for the beta and cut parts of the game persists, as I've always found it interesting throughout all the Half-Life games. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please, if you like this video, be on the lookout next Friday for my next biological video essay on the entirety of Half-Life 1 and its expansions. If you want to be directly notified about this video when it's released, I of course encourage you to subscribe to my channel, as I have much more content like this planned out for the future. Additionally, if you don't know already, this video was a part of my series called One Shots, where I make a video in one day while still trying to say something meaningful. With all that out of the way, thanks for watching, and goodbye.